know from our own human experience so many times how difficult it is to remain faithful to God, especially in times of suffering, when we are faced with trials in life, when things don't go as we hope they will. There can be so many different kinds of sufferings that affect our lives, physical ones certainly, but we can suffer spiritually and emotionally. So many things can grab our heart and lead us away from God. It's hard to be faithful, to trust in the Lord in those times, to believe that all that he says to us will come to pass. Today we honor an amazing saint, a woman, Josephine Bakhita, who was canonized by Pope John Paul II in the year 2000, the first saint to come from the Sudan. As a small child, she was kidnapped by the slave traders and had a miserable life of suffering and pain and torture for nearly 20 years. They named her Bakhita, which in Sudanese means lucky one. And sure enough, she was blessed to be bought by an Italian, a kind, compassionate man who asked her to be the nanny to his children. Through that experience, Josephine came to Christian faith. She was formally educated and was baptized Josepina. And throughout her life, she is known as one, despite those sufferings, those trials, that difficult journey in those early years, she was known for her kindness, her sweet nature. She would sing. She had a beautiful voice, a spirit of life that could not be quenched, even in the darkest times. When she was given her freedom, she joined the Daughters of Charity, who had educated her, and for nearly 50 more years, she served as a religious, doing the most menial of tasks, serving as their cook, the doorkeeper, the seamstress, meeting many people along the way, always with a great smile. Her desire was to bring the love of Jesus into the lives of others. An inspiration to all of us, really, because that's the kind of life that we're called to live every day. Solomon was given so many blessings by God, great wisdom, a kingdom of great power, and all that the Lord asked was that he would be faithful to him and his commandments. And we know the story so often happened throughout the history of Israel, and it's a story that happens to each of us. We become complacent. We embrace faith half-heartedly when it's easy, convenient, when it doesn't really cost us much. He was swayed by his wives to begin worshiping other gods, which he turned to. And he slowly forgot the God of the covenant. And we see the disaster that comes to him, losing almost all of his kingdom. What the story reminds us of is that God is ever faithful to us. He doesn't abandon Solomon or his family. But as a result of our sins and lack of faith, destruction always happens to us, to others. It's the result of every sin. What faith that woman, a Greek, not even one of the children of Israel. That's what Jesus says. It's not right to take the food from the children and give it to the dogs. It's an insult, really. But we know Jesus is using her to show amazing faith to the others all around him. She would not be deterred. Even the dogs, she said, under the table can eat the scraps. That was an act of faith. She knew who Jesus was. She believed in him. She knew he would help her in her need, and he did. He healed her daughter. She went home fully confident that the demon would be gone, no doubts at all in her mind. Do we have that same kind of faith every single day? A faith that knows that God will be with us in every trial, every suffering, every difficulty, will never be abandoned. We will have the grace we need. It may not take that cross away. Jesus never promised to do that. But he promised to give us every strength we need to make our way from this life to the next. That's where we're headed. We're passing through. Don't get too attached. We need to be working every day on one thing only, getting to heaven. And Josephine Bakhita shows us the way of deep love, of great trust in God, of kindness and compassion for everyone around us. If we live like her, we most assuredly will be able to gain entrance to the kingdom of God.